Hello students, it's good to see you here again. So today we are going to start with our chapter number 8 of geography, that is industries. In this chapter we will be getting to know more about that what industries are, how many types of industries are there and what is the purpose and how one can set up an industry. And they are categorized and classified on the basis of what. So let's continue. In the previous chapter we have studied that there are three types of economic activities like primary, secondary and tertiary. Agricultural and mining are the primary economic activities. Many products from our primary activities cannot be utilized directly. They need to be processed and converted into usable products. Here in the first paragraph, they're trying to tell about what are the primary activities, what are the secondary activities, and what are tertiary activities. And also, they are talking about that we cannot consume product directly somehow, and that's why we need to furnish and convert them into usable products. The process of converting materials into finished products such as cotton into clothes, jute into jute sacks, and mineral oil into petrochemicals is called manufacturing. Means the process in which they are converted into these raw products are converted into finished product is known as manufacturing. The manufacturing industry converts raw materials into finished products. How do they get manufactured? That is the question. They get manufactured with the help of industry, and that is the purpose of industry, to set them up in a proper form and convert all the following essentials into the usable forms. Manufacturing thus changes raw materials into products of more value for people and also helps people to understand what that project is about. Now comes our next heading, that is classification of industries. We can classify the industries on the basis of raw materials used, their size and ownership. Means on the following basis industries are classified. Let's move on our very first heading, that is industries on the basis of raw materials. The classification of industries on the basis of raw materials is as follows. Means on the basis of raw materials, industries are classified as of following types: agro-based industry, mineral-based industry, pastoral-based industry, marine-based industry, and forest-based industry. Agro-based industries are those industries which use plants and animal products. For example, cotton, textile, food processing are some examples of agro-based industry, and vegetable oil. Next is mineral-based industry. The industries which use rocks and minerals as raw materials and convert them into our daily usable form essentials are known as mineral-based industries, and the examples are iron and steel. Then comes pastoral-based industry. Pastoral-based industries use natural fiber, skin, hide, and milk obtained from animals like sheep, camel, and cows. Means the kind of industry which uses animals as their raw material are known as pastoral based industry. Then comes marine based industry. Marine based industry uses sea and ocean products as raw materials. For example, seafood, fish, oil are processed in marine based industries. These are the examples. Then comes forest based industry. As the name suggests, the kind of products which are obtained from forest and are thus converted into finished product, they are known as forest based industries. Simple. Next, our heading comes on the basis of size. Here on the basis of size means that on the amount of capital invested, the number of manual labors, and the amount of production, that what quantity of production is being produced and what quantity of units are being produced. According to the size, industries are classified as cottage, small scale and large scale industries. Let's know about what cottage, large and small scale industries are. Cottage industries are based in rural areas where investment is low, means not on very high areas. They use locally available raw materials and basic tools for making goods, means they use their supplies which are available to them. They don't look for here and there and don't prefer high cost products. The goods are made at home with the help of the family members. The products are sold in the local markets. The products of cottage industry includes potteries, baskets, jewelries, and handlooms cloths. Kind of industries are run on a very small level. They don't prefer machines and all, and also prefer family members rather than laborers because they cannot provide them wages and salaries. So basically, cottage industry is a work which a small family runs. Small scale industries. Small scale industries use less amount of capital. Capital is the amount of money that you invest for running a business. And technology. The products are sold in the local as well as outside market. Small scale industry provide employment to the large number of people, thus play an important role in developing country. Product of a small scale industry include textile, ceramic and utensil. And also you can take the example of marble. What are these industries? These are the industries which basically use and focus on what are the kind of things and how one can set up an industry which can help a particular country or a particular region in a small area, not especially country, but yes, a small region. Then comes large scale industry. Large scale industry are a large amount of capital and have power driven machinery. They employ a large number of laborers. The raw materials are often imported. Import and export is a major kind of thing that takes place in large scale industries. They produce large volumes of goods and services which are distributed all over the country and also exported. They basically look on a larger level and see and make sure that yes, their products reach each and every one. The automobile industry, iron and steel, and agricultural equipment are some of the examples of large scale industry. Basically, they are the ones which are used and which are basically produced in a large scale industry. Now comes our next heading, that is on the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership, the industries are classified into private sector, public sector, joint sector, cooperative sector, and multinational corporations. That is MNCs. Let's know about what private sector are and is. Private sector industries are owned and operated by individuals or by a group of individuals, means very common people. For example, Tata Iron and Steel Company, Reliance Industries Limited, and Hindustan Motors. These are the companies and organizations which are owned by normal and common people who are earning good in current phase and are called businessmen as well. Then comes public sector industries. In the public sector, industries are owned and operated by the central or state government. Means government has its own hand in these kind of industry and sectors. For example, Steel Authority of India, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation of India, and NTPC, and also oil, that is Oil India Limited. These are the sectors which have involvement of government because basically they are the one who are looking after them. Then comes joint sector industries. In the joint sector, industries are owned and operated jointly by the government and the private sector. Means they go hand in hand. Like Geo, you can take an example, as government is also involved into it. And Maruti Udyog Limited is an example of joint sector industry. Joint sector industry are basically helpful because in this kind of industry, the government can also play a vital role when they are not in a running mode, and if a person or an individual is not in a condition of making the industry run properly, then in that case government can join their hands and can help the individual to run the industry, and that is why joint industries work very well when taken into consideration. Next comes cooperative sector industries. Cooperative sector industries are owned and operated by the group of producers or suppliers of raw materials. Anand Milk Union Limited is an example of cooperative sector industry. Basically, these kinds of industries which are owned and governed by the ones, those who provide, those who have that particular authenticity of producing the raw products. They are the ones who manufacture. They are the ones who produce the raw products also, and they are the ones who convert those raw products into finished products. Then comes multinational corporations, that is MNC. Industries set up in collaboration with foreign investors are called multinational corporations. Such industries are owned and operated by the member of two or more countries. For example, if I am an owner in India and someone else is an owner who is an owner in USA, then that in that case our country and our company will be called as multinational corporation. Then let's focus on the factors affecting location of industry. There are several factors which determine the location of an industry: the availability of raw materials, land, water, labor, power, capital, transport, and market are some of the key factors which determine the location of industries. Keeping these factors into the mind, it is very important to set up an industry because suppose if you are planning to set up an industry based on cotton and textile, and your land where you have set up your industry is not good in fertility and you cannot get a good supply of cotton, then in that case you will have to pay some extra amount of charges for the transportation for getting the cotton from some other part of the country. Then in that case it will be very typical for you because you will be spending a lot of amount of money on the transportation charges, which is very expensive sometimes. So it's preferable to follow the factors before setting up the industry. Then comes our next heading, that is industrial regions. The industries are unevenly distributed in different parts of the world. One will find areas where there are clusters of industries, means there should be a good area if you are willing to and if you are planning to set up an industry. This is due to the availability of favorable factors that we have already discussed just now, like availability of water, labor, and power supply. The areas which have a high concentration of industry are referred to as the industrial region. Like in India, we can prefer industrial regions as Chandigarh and NCR or maybe Greater Noida. Basically, these are the regions where setup of industry is very common because of their good and favorable factors. The major industrial regions of the world are Eastern North America, Western and Central Europe, and Eastern Asia, Japan, China, and South Korea. These are the regions where industry setup is more seen and observed. India also has some industrial belts. Some of the important industrial regions are Mumbai, Pune, cluster Bangalore, Tamil Nadu region, Hooghly region, Ahmedabad, Baroda region, Chota Nagpur industrial belt, Vishakhapatnam, Guntur belt, Gurgaon, Delhi, Meerut region, and the Kollam, Thiruvananthapuram industrial cluster. These are the regions which are more common in India. Let's see on that distribution of major industries, that where and how they are distributed. A wide variety of industries have developed all over the world. They include chemicals, metallurgy, transport, equipment, textile, food processing, beverages, engineering, and so on. Industries are based on so many types. It's not just that they are based on one. As we have already discussed, the types of industries. The iron and steel, cotton, textile, and information technology are the major industries of the world. They are the major, means most common. Iron and steel industry. Iron and steel industry is considered as the backbone of industrial development of any country. This we have studied in the chapter of mineral and power resources also, because we know that not even a single factory is running and can run without the support of iron and steel, as most and many of the machines are based on and are a part of and include iron and steel. So it's very common. Therefore, it is a basic industry. The industry also works as feeder industry. The sectors like transportation, construction, housing, shipbuilding, petrochemicals, and a number of other sectors and continue to depend on the iron and steel industry for their basic requirements, as we already discussed. The iron and steel industry is a heavy industry, that is, it uses bulky raw materials. Bulky means heavy, such as iron ore, coal, limestone, and manganese. The raw materials are put into blast furnace, which then undergo the process of smelting, after which they are refined to obtain steel. This is a kind of process where iron and some other elements and some other minerals are mixed together so as to form a better and a combined product, which can be used to make some utensils and some other various products. The leading producer of iron and steel in the world is China, followed by Japan, the USA, Russia, Ukraine, Germany, South Korea, and Brazil. These are the regions which are in a chain of continuation for producing the largest and the purest form of iron and steel. The major iron and steel producing centers in India are Bhilai, that is in Chhattisgarh, Durgapur, West Bengal, Burnpur, West Bengal, Jamshedpur, Jharkhand, Rourkela, Odisha, and Bokaro, which is in Jharkhand. Bhadravati and Vijayanagar in Karnataka, Vishakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, and Salem in Tamil Nadu are the major steel producing centers of South India. India's steel production has taken a quantum jump since independence. In 1947, India produced 1 million tons of steel, which increased to 89.6 million tons in 2015, which is actually a very big amount as compared, and if compared in the amount of size and if amount in that terms of production. And our next heading is cotton textile industry. Traditionally, India has been a famous center for the production of textiles. Wool, silk, jute, and flax are used for making cloth. We can classify the textile industry on the basis of the raw material it uses. Means like it depends on the industry that what kind of materials they are using. For the making of cloths, fiber is used as a raw material. It can be either natural or human made. We obtain the natural fibers from wool, silk, cotton, linen, and jute, whereas human made fibers include polyester, nylon, acrylic, and rayon. The cotton textile industry has a very long tradition. Before the 18th century, it was mostly based on spinning techniques and looms. That we already know, that we have already studied in the chapter of history, where Mahatma Gandhi used to make his own fabrics. New inventions changed the traditional textile industry. Power looms helped in the growth of the textile industry, first in Britain and then in the rest part of the world, because it was a great evolution. Today, India, China, Japan, and the US are the important producers of cotton textiles in the world. In India, the first successful textile mill was set up in Bombay in the year 1854. The warm, moist climate, a nearby port for import and export, availability of raw material and skilled labor resulted in the rapid expansion of the industry in this region. Why? Just because they needed everything. Whatever they needed, it was already available over there, and this was the main reason that why that industry expanded so well. Initially, this industry flourished in the states of Maharashtra and Gujarat also because of favorable humid climate. But today, humidity can be created artificially. So this industry has spread to other parts of India. Coimbatore, Kanpur, Chennai, Kolkata, Ludhiana, and Panipat are some of the other important centers. Now, as according to them, now they can also create humidity through some artificial measures, and that's why other part of the country have also experienced such growth of rapid industries. Next comes our last heading, that is information technology. Let's go through that. Information technology, that is IT. The information technology industry has brought the world closer. It is one of the fastest growing service industries in the world. The IT industry mainly deals with the storage, processing, and distribution of information. Here they're talking about that yes, IT is the one reason that why world is able to communicate all together and why world is still evolving and the fields of technology. The PC revolution started with the first personal computer, Apple, first in 1976. The, the introduction of the internet has revolutionized the industry. People living in Bangalore work in collaboration with the people living in California. And this is only because of their tendency of handling the technology and re evolving the old used techniques. A series of technological, political, and socio-economic events have helped in making this industry global. The location of the IT industry is guided by the availability of the resource, cost, and infrastructure. And basically, the only reason that why they're all of doing well is the reason that yes, they have the tendency of building a new future with the help of these pace of information technology, and which is giving a rise to the telephonic and some other conversations as well. So students, this was all about the chapter. Thank you so much for paying attention. For any queries or any doubts, you can access the internet. You can also access YouTube videos, and you can also study, and you can also contact and ask me the questions on MCB application in our and also in our online classes. Thank you. Take care, stay blessed, and prepare well.